Okay, so we actually have a packed panel here, and we're talking about a very interesting topic. And I know it's like the afternoon, everyone's had lunch, and you're a bit sleepy after a day and a half of talking about this stuff. But bulk payments, I'm telling you, doesn't sound sexy, but as the title here says, it really does make the world go round, and it could really be revolutionary for millions, if not billions, of people. So I want to welcome our expert panel here now. So please start coming on stage. We have Teana Baker-Taylor, she's from Saracco. We have Tori Samples, who you were just listening to from SDF. We have Sanna Bedi from UNICEF. And then we have Saracco from Ping. And they're all going to tell you what they're involved with and where they come in from bulk payments. But we thought we might start with actually Tori to give a definition of bulk payments, because it doesn't sound that easy to understand. So Tori, do you want to just explain what that is exactly?
Absolutely. And because I'm comfortable being on this stage, because I was just up here, maybe a little too comfortable, I will say that when we started talking about this session, I had forgotten this, and someone reminded me. I think I originally wanted it to be called something to the effect of why bulk payments are sexy, or something like that, because they get such a bad rap. Nobody thinks about them, but they affect almost every single person in this room and in the world. So when we talk about bulk payments, at least today, or within the context of the Stellar ecosystem, we mean payments from an organization out to many individuals at once. All of that group of payments, we tend to call a disbursement. There are lots of different names for this, but that's the nomenclature that we use. And we've seen that that's still a problem around the world. With the Stellar ecosystem, we're very good at peer-to-peer payments, pretty good at even individual-to-merchant payments, but we've never really had a solution for flipping that and looking at the organization-to-individual side. So that's what we're talking about today.
So it would be like one to many. It would be like an aid payment or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, great. So we're just going to go through the panel, and our guests are going to explain what their involvement is with bulk payments. So Teana, do you want to start us off?
Sure. So I'm Teana Baker-Taylor, and I work at Saracco, which is becoming an increasingly used settlement asset to be able to distribute those bulk payments.
Good. Sorry?
Tori Samples. I am the product manager for the Stellar Disbursement platform, which is our newest open source tool within the Stellar ecosystem for the actual sending of those disbursements or bulk payments.
Sanna, Bedi. I work with the UNICEF Venture Fund team. We have a crypto fund that actually invests in blockchain solutions. So we're actively experimenting and exploring crypto use cases, blockchain solutions, to be able to see how we can do payments better, automate transactions, and deliver to companies that are helping reach children.
Mary?
Hello, my name is Mary. I'm the founder of Ping. Ping, I think, is a perfect example of bulk payments. It's a payment platform that enables companies and individuals to send and receive money. Essentially, a company that hires remotely can pay in one click all their employees directly. So, an example.
So Tori, why don't you kind of set the scene for us a little bit here? What are the pain points at the moment in terms of disbursement? I mean, for instance, in an aid transaction, what are the kind of blockers there at the moment?
Sure. So within every bulk payment transaction, there's a sender and receiver. Both of those have unique pain points, but regardless of the use case, the pain points tend to be the same for senders, whether it's an aid organization or a company doing payroll or a government issuing tax refunds. So on the sender side, historically, when you've used the legacy financial system and you're sending money to lots of people at once, you're doing that through legacy rails, like bank transfers. In other parts of the world, it could be done through newer solutions like mobile money. But most of those tend to still be pretty slow, pretty expensive. And there's generally not a confirmation when that money arrives. And so for the organization, it's actually quite difficult to trace that payment and to know with 100% certainty what happened to the money. On the receiver side, it's just as cumbersome. There are often wait periods, so for workers, there's no reason that anyone who's doing paid work as an employee, a freelancer, a gig worker, a creator, there's no reason that they should have to wait 30 to up to 90 days in certain parts of the world just to be paid for the work that they performed. And so the timing is one thing, but also the uncertainty. And oftentimes in many parts of the world, you can't access global payment systems that we think of in the US or Europe. And so if you're a creator working in Africa, for example, it can be difficult to tap into that system, like we heard Idris say yesterday. So with the Stellar disbursement platform, we've tried to solve some of those pain points and make it generic enough that it can be used for any of those use cases that I've mentioned.
So Sanna, you've been at UNICEF, you've been living this pain now for many years, and you're trying to get around it by using crypto, and you have a crypto innovation fund. Can you talk about the evolution of that fund and how you're now using crypto to make these disbursements?
Absolutely. So actually, we've been experimenting at the Office of Innovation with blockchain since 2015. We've, of course, gone carefully, cautiously, to learn about the technology, but also to build our own technical capabilities of the team to be able to work with crypto tools. And so eventually, we launched the Crypto Fund back in October of 2019. And the purpose of this fund is, of course, to leverage the transparency and efficiency for us to be able to accept, hold, and disperse cryptocurrency in its native form. We're still, I think, the only UN agency that's able to accept and hold crypto. And in doing this, we're really helping the organization develop their core institutional muscle memory on how they function in crypto. Like, how do you embrace a digital financial future to have, potential payments, bulk payments in cryptocurrency? Because yes, that's the way we want to go. We just heard from UNHCR as well. Humanitarian cash transfers are a massive potential. They're extremely powerful in response and recovery for emergencies. So we are looking at experimenting various use cases as well as options. We have had some examples in Nepal where we've actually delivered cash transfers, which are mobile-based tokenized blockchain solutions to tokenize on-chain cash transfer response. They're looking at very much reaching the last mile. For us, it's really important to be able to integrate with USSD to be able to provide people without smartphones access to cash assistance. We also have had this company integrate with a voice response system so that they're able to also reach those who can't read. Because these are all aspects that we need to consider when we're looking at bulk payments. Yes, it's good to have bulk payments in a much more faster, cost-effective, cheaper, and more visible platform. Mm-hmm. But it's also important to reach the last mile, and we need to build our systems to do that.
Okay, so just quickly, we're talking about a lot of money, like $600 million a year.
Yeah, absolutely.
In direct cash assistance. So in that Nepali example, how does it work traditionally, and how does it work now with this new system? Traditionally, a lot of kind of mouths to feed in this transaction chain, right?
Exactly, right? Like, you have a large number of intermediaries that help UNICEF and UN agencies in general be able to disperse, to register beneficiaries, to be able to disperse funding actually to beneficiaries. And this can take quite a few days. It's not even the same day, right? It can sometimes take up to a week. And so we have been, with this cash transfer pilot that we did on chain, we were able to bring down the transaction time to 28 seconds. So it's definitely, time efficiency. We're looking at cost, subtracting really additional intermediaries who don't need to be in the system, making the complete platform transparent, visible, and providing real-time information on where the funds have moved, how they're being spent. We're just being able to really change the game of how it's operating, and definitely looking at potentially doing this in also crypto going down the road.
And there's a reduction in what people euphemistically call leakage, right? So,
exactly.
Yeah.
And traceability, right?
Absolutely.
Complete traceability.
Yeah.
Right. So, Teana, talk about a Circle and how you're now launching this Euro product and how that's going to be useful.
Yeah, so I think, in a world of evolving payments and the payments landscape, being able to ensure that those payments don't have an impact when it comes to FX is critically important. And so I think we're going to start to see a proliferation of domestic denominated stablecoins by jurisdiction. And so if you look at stablecoins through the context of, I get a lot of grief for this, and people say, well, crypto capital markets aren't going to operate on dollars. That may be the case, right? 79% of the world's trade is financed in USD. So that is a known. However, when you're thinking about, so we jump back to yesterday, and Idris was talking about being able to empower young, rurally located YouTube creators to be able to monetize and receive revenue for their content. So that is a bulk payment, right? If YouTube was going to send out, monthly or weekly remittances to all of their content creators, that would be one of these bulk payments. And that's net new economic activity that didn't exist 20 years ago. Right. If you look at the gig economy as another good example. So we have people that aren't always working, in a particular place. Circle, for example, is a fully remote company. We have people distributed all over the world. And so you can make those salary payments in local denominated currencies, again, kind of one-to-many. And, I would argue that while US dollars are in demand in a number of countries, the euro is the second largest currency in the world. And there is, an equal amount of kind of power in the monetary policy that is set by the ECB. And so it's a very stable asset, right? And it's a very stable store of value. But I think when you look forward into the device-centric payments economy, that we don't even yet know how these digitally native payments are going to be in demand to serve use cases that we don't yet know about. I do think that there will be a greater demand from consumers for optionality in the transaction asset and the denomination that they're using.
Okay. So you talk about a euro-denominated stablecoin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it could be any. It could be a Mexican peso stablecoin, for example.
So if you're a European country delivering aid to, say, Nepal, you can now do that in euros rather than converting it to dollars and then out into the local currency.
Well, and if you look back to, a lot of times these bulk payments happen without a lot of planning too. So if you're responding to disaster relief, what Carmen was just talking about, you have to have these infrastructures in place ahead of time to be able to respond in a timely way. So if I go back to the COVID crisis, I live in London, I am American, I was allowed or due a relief check from the US government. They literally sent me a check, a paper check from the US government signed by Donald Trump. Yeah. And it arrived at my house like 8 months after everyone else got their COVID money. And so, I had to go down to the bank and deposit this international check. So it would have been great if they could have sent me pounds in a wallet on my phone. That would have been super. And I could have used that money when I potentially needed it, not 8 months later.
The US is crazy for the Czech economy.
Yeah.
So Mary, talk about, you're also catering to the kind of gig economy and to that contractor worker. Talk about your neobank product.
So basically, Ping enables companies to open a bank account in the US remotely. So today, and in bringing back a little bit the last mile concept that Sanna talked about, if you want to open a bank account in the US today, if you're not in the US, you have to travel to the US specifically and try to open it, and risk being rejected from multiple banks. So that is one of the things Ping solves. Number one, we open a bank account for companies in the US, and then we open an account as well for individuals who can be, usually are freelancers, you mentioned TikTokers, gig economy, like contractors, and employees from these companies. So the key part and where like the Ping magic happens is that a freelancer gets paid in Ping by the company and in dollars in the US, and then it's able to convert to USDC, for instance. We have USDC on Stellar available, or to Bitcoin, whatever. or convert it to local money and off-ramp it. In the case of Argentina, just to say an example, you off-ramp it to Vibrant and get your money in pesos. You can off-ramp to your bank account. And talking about last mile, we enabled also off-ramping to MoneyGram on cash, right? On different cash points. So this is a little bit what Ping solves, which is huge in the sense of, in the past, companies had to wire, let's say, Tori in the US your money, and then Sanna in London, and have to go one by one wiring 100 people. Right. With bulk payments, it's extremely easy right now. You do it with Ping, that's it, click, disperse to everybody. And it's not only beneficial for the company in terms of operational efficiency, it really solves a problem for the employees, the contractors, the freelancers who are now able to get paid abroad in a strong currency or in crypto, and in that same day, at the end of the month, not in 90 days, and then be able to off-ramp it locally to local money wherever they are.
Right.
You know.
So let's talk about some of the obstacles for moving forward. And Sanna, we were talking yesterday about like regulatory risks and how you have to do this kind of constant due diligence sort of process. And you were talking about Bangladesh, how they've kind of outlawed some payments and how that kind of had put a kibosh on some of your plans there. Talk about how you cope with that kind of regulatory uncertainty.
For sure, and I mean it's an active thing that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, right? Because we have the ability to accept whole dispersed crypto, what we do need to do is have a fairly strict due diligence process, which happens right from when we're starting to consider a company for investment, but then actually able to make that transfer. We have to do due diligence on the regulatory status of crypto in a country many times before we actually do the transfer. And it's happened in the past where we've made an investment in a startup, 6 months down the line, crypto is no longer legal in the country, and then we've had to sort of change the way we do the second tranche of funding, because our funding is tranched to startups. So that used to be one area of due diligence, but I think more recently, and we're seeing this more in the past 9 to about 12 months, where now we need to also look at whether the company can operate in the country because of the changing landscape. Many a times they need to apply for licenses, so we need to ensure they're compliant with the latest regulations for their operations in countries as well. So it doesn't stop. It keeps changing, it's evolving, and it's just something we have to be agile and flexible for as an organization to sort of keep up and respond.
Right. So Teana, I mean, this is your job at Circle. I mean, how do you keep up with all this stuff? It must be probably challenging to...
Yeah, I think it's twofold. So for me, having been at this advocacy and policy thing for a few years, it is actually refreshing and encouraging to see governments acknowledging, first, that this technology isn't going anywhere. Second, that it does have tangible use cases that can be leveraged to materially impact and improve financial services for a many host of people. And three, that for certainly areas like payments that intersect with the traditional banking system, that there needs to be clear rules of the road for those companies providing those services. And so I think that those rules, while, you know, create hurdles in some ways and barriers to become compliant with them and putting in place governance mechanisms and hiring the right people, et cetera, they naturally then open up a whole new host of partnership opportunities that didn't exist before because those counterparties are regulated entities. So, you know, working with MoneyGram, they're a great example of a company that works really closely with us and with Stellar to have those conversations together. And I think it's a very powerful discussion when you have the platform and the asset and the last mile together describing, you know, how we're solving challenges. But when you look at Europe specifically through the lens of MiCA, the Market and Crypto Assets Regulation, so it's the first of its kind. in that it is a holistic regulatory regime. It's not just piecemeal, and it covers 27 member states. That's a huge trading bloc. So that is a big opportunity for both Europe to grow economically and for builders to be able to take to market and sell to, a huge trading block of consumers. So that's really exciting. When you look at something like stablecoins through that lens, it's considered electronic money. So it's not really crypto anymore, right? So we've kind of surpassed this, cult of personality around crypto, and now it's electronic money, just like all other forms of electronic money. And I think that creates a sentiment change and greater pathways for growth.
So do you think the next kind of generation of crypto is not crypto? It's like just some normal form of digital money?
Well, I mean, I will tell you, and anybody in this room that talks to policymakers, they don't like crypto. They don't like it. Probably never going to. Digital assets, a little bit better. The idea that something is cryptographically secured somehow, escapes them. That there are lots of things that are cryptographically secured that we're okay with, but somehow money is different. So I think, broadly speaking, the advice that I always give to rooms like this is abstract away the tech. And I know that this is not, it's a little controversial for a room of developers, but nobody cares, right? The people at these levels don't care about the tech. The lingo is difficult to understand. If you go too deep into the technicalities of how something works, you will lose them. But if you could tell stories about the problem that you solve and who benefits from those solutions, then you get their attention. Right. So it would be great if we stopped talking about crypto and started really only focusing on the use cases. I think we would get further faster.
Right. Tori, would you agree with that? I mean, you've lived this as a startup, and now...
Yes. I'm just over here laughing to myself, that's all. Because this is something that we think about and talk about so much as a product-driven organization at SDF. But I had a conversation last week. Nobody cares about the tech. And that's not just true of regulators. That's true of users, whether they are individuals receiving money through something like the Stellar Disbursement platform or an organization that just needs to process payments. And so I completely agree on the storytelling. And I would add to that, it's not just the use case. It's really just what does it do for an individual? Even use case, I feel like, is becoming a buzzword. It has great intentions, but even that can be used to just gloss over a lot.
Client stories are always better.
Yes, yeah. So at this point, I'm like,
that's why we take Carmen Hat on the road everywhere we go.
Yeah, exactly. No, what does it do for someone? What does it make easier or better in their life? And yes, I have lived this as a startup founder that grew a product across Africa for people without even smartphones, and now I get the privilege of doing that at SDF as well.
Mary, looks like you want to
Yeah, actually, it's funny because we have most of our clients and people who use Ping are not crypto companies or crypto-related, whatever. Our users are digital marketers, TikTokers, freelancers of whatever sort, a lot of computer scientists, software factories, these type of things. So, exactly.
Yeah. Sanna, what about you? I mean, you work for this highly bureaucratic, huge organization. I'm sure crypto is not like the term to use internally.
Well, I think our treasury has been extremely supportive in actually being able to embrace crypto the way they have. I think they've helped us build that foundation to be able to say, okay, let's do more. But I agree. I think it's really about showcasing the use cases and where they matter. That's definitely something that we're doing, which is why we started with like a prototype fund to say, okay, we're going to use crypto to test solutions. We're doing the same thing we do from the venture fund, which is make investments in open source frontier technology startups to test them, to show what they can do. Once we say, okay, they've developed an MVP, they're solid, then we say, okay, let's pilot this with a country. Once we pilot it with one country, we showcase results. Again, the Nepal example was very much saying, we're not talking about crypto, we're not talking about blockchain, we're just talking about delivering humanitarian aid, which is something we know how to do. We're just trying to see how we can do it faster, better, cheaper. And I think that stays, right? That's the message that stayed, and that's what we want to now go ahead and scale up and deploy at a much larger scale. And that's what matters.
Great. So we have less than 5 minutes left. I just want to sort of take the conversation forward. I mean, where is Saracco going to go in the next year or so in terms of bulk payments, and where are we headed?
Well, so I think, Circle is in a unique position to empower others to realize, real-world solutions, right? So we, in addition to issuing the digital assets themselves, we do have a wallet that can be combined with those services to help, people kind of upscale their projects quickly. We are working with a number of unlikely candidates, right? So if you think about super apps that provide your entertainment and your payment services and your mobility, those types of one-shop-fit-all super apps, they're looking at ways where their users don't have to flip between a whole bunch of different payment methods and different wallets.
You mean like Twitter?
Like Twitter? Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't think we're talking to Twitter. Oh, I don't know. Jeremy @s Elon every now and again, so maybe they are. Yeah, I mean, no. I mean, I mean more like something like a WeChat type of situation. So, you have one app that does, I'm buying a movie ticket, I'm communicating with my friends, I'm hailing an Uber, right? It's kind of all integrated in this omni-channel experience, but the payment mechanisms are fragmented. And so companies like that serve a bunch of different typologies within one environment are looking at how they can streamline their payment use cases. Obviously, we are very invested. Circle Impact is an initiative that we have that is focused on education, financial literacy, and humanitarian aid and disaster relief. So a lot of how we're thinking about innovating around payments comes from trying to solve real-world problems. But equally, I think, we spend a lot of time talking to creators that are, hopefully there's going to be, a new Renaissance man like Steve Jobs that creates a thing that we didn't know we needed, and then therefore is going to change the way we, engage with each other or gaming. There's a lot of, I think the metaverse is kind of dead for the moment. It will come back, and there will be this, regeneration of, are we going to buy land, and do we need a car and clothes, and how do we transact with each other in this, other place, right? So there's lots of things that we don't even know about, and we're obviously keeping a close eye on all those things to really be an enabler and a platform for those use cases to grow.
Yeah. Tori, what are you focused on next year?
Well, the Stellar Disbursement platform is out there. If anybody missed that announcement, it is open sourced, publicly available, free to use. So we are really focused now on improving. I'd say it's about 90% of the way there. We're still adding some new features, but get in touch with us. We are looking for SDP operators. Those are organizations that need to send money. We're looking for technical hosts to serve basically SDP as a service for organizations who are not technically equipped to run their own. And also wallets. We've got 4 incredible wallets that are integrated with the SDP today, capable of receiving payments into them. But we're always looking for more, and there are a ton of new ones in the Stellar ecosystem. So we would love for those to come on board. And then finally, we're here to support and serve. So please get in touch with us if you have questions about the Stellar Disbursement platform or how you can use it. You don't actually need anything from us. You don't need permission or anything, but we always love to hear about how people are using our products.
Sanna, you're experimenting with some pretty interesting things like smart contracts, for instance.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll definitely be in touch down the road on some of our work with the cash transfer, humanitarian aid work. But we're also looking at, of course, diversifying and building our our portfolio of blockchain solutions. So if you have blockchain startups, do apply to the venture funds for funding in fiat or crypto. We are looking at the moment, parametric insurance, looking at smart contracts for automating payments, for different services that can be provided across countries where we work, which is over 150 countries. And last but not least, we are looking at diversifying our crypto fund, our crypto holdings, as well as the functionalities of the crypto fund. So more coming soon.
Mary, just quickly, version 2.0.
Yeah. So basically, every company that wants or hires remotely can use Bing directly, so reach out to me. If you're a freelancer and want to know more, a contractor, you get paid in dollars abroad or in crypto, and want to know where to get paid, and you're tired of any existing alternatives that do not solve the A to C solution, let me know.
All right, thanks very much to our excellent panel. Thanks all for joining and listening, and that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben.